All right, and welcome to the Arts and Music Journal. We are coming to you live right now from the heart of Philadelphia. And if you listen to my show, The Light, you know that's how I like to announce our studios here at Philly Cam and 106.5 WPPM from the heart of Philadelphia. And I am here with the lady I affectionately call Fearless Leader, Ms. Vanessa Graber. And so welcome to the Arts and Music Journal, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and for welcoming us to Philly Cam and WPPM.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Okay, so I know what Philly Cam is. I know what WPPM is. Can you tell our listeners something about 106.5 WPPM? Give us the goods.
So Philly Cam is a community media center here in Philadelphia. We operate the city's public access TV channels. We're the license holder of WPPM 106.5 FM, a community radio station. We teach media education classes. We have a youth media program, and we're also advocates for media justice. So your right to access information and communication infrastructure. We started WPPM in 2016, so we're coming up on our third anniversary this summer. And PPM stands for People Powered Media. And so we're operated and run by volunteers. Now there's over 100 people here at the station creating content every week. We have over 60 programs and over 80 hours a week of live local programming. So our motto is radio that sounds like Philadelphia. So we have a lot of different accents and people rep in neighborhoods and places all over Philly and South Jersey. And all of our content is non-commercial, educational, and focuses on local voices and local issues. We have a mix of talk, music, and variety shows. And we try to focus on groups of people that are underrepresented in media, music that's no longer played in mainstream media, and just content that you can't find anywhere else.
Okay, now you said you had over 80 content producers. I heard a rumor that Raymond Tyler was like content producer number 4 or 5.
So yeah, right now we're over 100 actually, 100 people. And we started off with a small group of people though, and all of this was just an idea. So before we even had a studio or a station or a license, we were teaching people audio production, podcasting, and we had a class called Do It Yourself Radio, just to kind of gauge the interest of the community to see if they wanted to do this. Of course, there was a huge response from the community. One of our first people to express interest and join our class, of course, is you, Mr. Raymond Tyler, one of the originals, as I call them. And so you, along with me and a few other people, we're founders of the station. We created it together. Of course, you know, we launched the station with a small number of programs. The Light was one of them. And we're just so happy that so many people have stuck with us. We've had hardly any turnover. And it just really shows the commitment, dedication, and love people have for our community radio station.
Wow, if you're just tuning in, this is the Arts and Music Journal. Although you may be hearing this interview on The Light as well at some point. We're here with Vanessa Graber, who is the program director or station manager. Station manager would be the appropriate name for what she does here at Philly Cam. And I was teasing her about how I was probably like the 5th person here. She actually poached me from the TV side. I was all ready to start producing TV shows. And when they said they were going to do a radio station, I said, well, you know, I do love radio. So, but Philly Cam is here for you, whether you're in Philadelphia or South Jersey and maybe a little Delaware. gets the station as well. I just want to ask one more back in the day question before we start looking forward. Like myself, you have a more extensive background in commercial and community radio. Okay, so I don't see an Escalade or a Hummer or a Porsche parked in front of the station. So I'm going to assume you could have made a lot more money if you had taken another job being a station manager or even a program director in commercial radio. Why did you feel it was important to work in community radio?
Well, it all started back in North Carolina. I was a student, grad student at the University of North Carolina. I got involved in a project that was a youth radio program called Radio Palante, and I worked with Latino youth doing a bilingual show in Spanish and English at a community radio station called WCOM in Carrboro, North Carolina. And at the time, I was working for WCHL as a producer there, doing a news magazine show called Carolina Week. And I was like teaching at the University of North Carolina. And I just got so much joy out of working at community radio. And there was a real nice energy and community to that place. And I just realized that radio really can be a lot different. At the same time, I was studying radical social movements and the use of alternative media globally, and I was looking at community radio in Venezuela and in Colombia, and how radical groups of people that were part of resistance movements, use media to advance their goals and to combat misinformation and to generate support for their movements. So it all kind of was happening at the same time, and you just have one of those light bulb moments where you're like, this really can be a tool for social justice, and this is a tool for free speech. If you worked in commercial radio, commercial media at all, there's real limitations to what you can and can't say, and ultimately you're working for a client and producing a product to their needs, their specifications. Very little of your own voice is interjected into that. And furthermore, my entire experience working in commercial media, there was almost no people like me. There was no other Puerto Rican or Latina women in leadership positions, on-air positions. I just really didn't see my community reflected in the media, and having an opportunity to work with youth and see themselves reflected in the media and having their voice represented, I thought was just so empowering and important that it made me want to start a community radio station. And Philadelphia did not have public access or community radio until very recently. And so, when I moved back here, I was on a mission, and I joined the Prometheus Radio Project, which was a nonprofit organization here in Philly that had a campaign to expand community radio in the United States. And when I saw that position posted online, I quit my job. I started working for them at half the salary I was making, and really had to give up and sacrifice a lot to give up that work. But in the end, it was all worth it because we were able to pass federal legislation expanding community radio, which allowed me to travel all over the country, visiting community radio stations and public access TV stations, and having these very real conversations about the state of the media in this country. And it's interesting because I dropped out of my PhD program where I was researching this, but then I wound up still doing the same kind of research unofficially. And that data proved everything that I had sort of hypothesized, which is people feel unheard, they feel unrepresented, they feel that their local art and culture is not being shown in their local media, and that people's voices are really important and they matter and they're needed at this important time. And so, of course, in Philadelphia, I'd be remiss if I didn't do the work here locally. So worked with Philly